So again, contact myself or Alex on that. And with that, I'm going to get through my part and turn it over to Blaine and the guys to get into the presentation content.
Great. How's everybody doing today? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So let me go ahead and share out the slide deck here. So, how's everybody doing today? I hear you loud and clear. Everybody's seems to be pumped up here. Well, welcome once again. I'm Blaine Barton. I'm a senior IT pro evangelist with Microsoft. You know, what does that mean? That means that I go around and spread and teach the IT gospel. So just wanted to kind of let you know what I do. I do online, of course, one-to-many presentations. I do a lot of the TechNet and launch events for Microsoft. And I'm also engaged with the community. I know we've got Adnan Cartwright here in the picture. He's our MVP for Windows Server. He's going to be joining us as well as an internal Microsoft individual, Roan Daly, as a premier field engineer. So welcome. There's my email address. I'm not afraid to put my email address right up front. That's blainebar@microsoft.com. That's Blaine Barr, Blaine at the bar at Microsoft.com. So I want to introduce Roan real quick. He's going to be talking later in the series, but for now I just wanted to do a quick introduction of the gentlemen that are going to join me in the delivery. So Roan Daly is a senior premier field engineer for Microsoft. We both, as well as Adnan, are all located in sunny Florida. So I'm in Tampa, and Roan and Adnan are in southern Florida. Adnan Cartwright, a good friend of mine, as well as Microsoft MVP, Windows Server for Integrity Solutions. There's his email address. So both Roan, Adnan, and myself will be the ones that are delivering the content through this 5-part series. So once again, welcome. I'm pleased to be here to co-present with Tech Data and John and Alex. I know I've visited the site there in Clearwater, and I was a little overwhelmed at all the activity going on there, but very excited to bring you today's presentation. Today's presentation is really around cloud services, to give you an overview of really what is Microsoft Cloud Services, to make it more clear. So part one is Windows Server Private Cloud, and I'll talk a little bit the difference between public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Part two, these are on Wednesdays once again, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Part two is what's new with Hyper-V. So we'll be going into virtualization and Hyper-V replica and some of those pieces. Part three will be automation and management with RSAT, the management console, PowerShell, some other tools that we're going to use. We'll enlighten you in part 4 of 5. That's file and storage services, so storage spaces, storage pools, and the new file management that we do within Windows Server 2012. And then we're going to end the series in 5 weeks, part 5 of 5, right in the middle of July, with high availability and clustering, and maybe give you just a little sample of System Center 2012 SP1 as well. So that's the lineup so far. So what I thought I'd do is really start at the basic level and talk about, what are Microsoft Cloud Services. I've been working with Windows Azure recently, and I really, want to kind of stress that, Microsoft's really been playing in this cloud game for a while. We're not new to cloud. In fact, with Windows Azure and some of the cloud services around the new data center services that we offer, really, to me, even though I work for Microsoft, it's kind of unrivaled, experience in the industry for building and running large public cloud services. We've learned a lot. We've learned and proven how to drive costs down through a combination of, software, hardware, the innovation behind that, automation by aggregating demand on shared infrastructure and adding that automation as a critical step to helping IT professionals reduce their costs, both on-premise from in the private cloud and in the cloud with our public offerings. So over time, it's evolved. We've learned how to really maintain efficient, I think, high service availability by scaling out and delivering a lot of the services that are available from based on industry standard hardware. So a lot of the experiences we're getting within Microsoft from building and operating public clouds and delivering the best available, dynamic, cost-effective server platform in the private cloud is really what we're all about. So we're going to talk more about that in Windows Server 2012. It's really the private cloud side of things. Microsoft, speaking from even my my experiences with I'm entering my 20th year with Microsoft, and I remember back in the day learning from things that I remember in the past. Like I remember my first MSN Hotmail account that I had some 17 years ago. So we run over 200 online services, and hundreds of millions of people a day hit our data centers globally. Of course, we're 24/7 through MSN, Bing, Hotmail, as well as really consuming data from those data centers to drive analytics for our customers and improve their experiences, and bottom line to improve revenue. So managing our data centers is a big undertaking with Microsoft, all the way from Windows Azure to Office 365, and don't forget Xbox Live. So when you're up there on Xbox Live and you're doing your gaming and all that, and your avatar, and you're keeping all your information up on our data centers, feel good about that, right? Playing Xbox Live, yeah. So our learnings really from running these massive services at scale, and engineering those, the design principles that we kind of roll into our enterprise products for you to benefit as an end user or reseller, to go ahead and deliver those products that we have from the data center as well as from the private cloud infrastructure. Getting the performance you need, getting the availability that you need for those mission critical apps that we have, by also providing some cost savings and lower cost of ownership. So just a couple factoids around our data centers, and as far as what's running in our data centers, some interesting stats. 9.9 billion messages a day through Windows Live Messenger. 600 million unique visitors every month to Windows Live and MSN. 600 million. 500 million active live IDs out there. And also, when you get those updates on your machine, well, how about this? 1 petabyte, right? 1 petabyte plus of updates served every month by Windows Update to millions of servers and hundreds of millions of PCs worldwide, right? Tens of thousands of Windows Azure customers. 5 million Link conference minutes per year. How about 5,000,068, which will be about how many minutes we'll add to this live or this Link meeting. I'm old school, so I keep calling it a live meeting. But how about Forefront? Filtering 1 billion emails a month, and also the last one, probably the most exciting one, is Xbox Live. And during the Christmas week, we pushed out and served content 5 petabytes worth. So data center and data center technology is really nothing new to Microsoft. So I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an insight as to what's going on with our data centers today. So hope everybody's on track here. Hopefully the pace is okay. But what I want to do now is bringing in that public cloud. If we're used to using Xbox Live or hitting Bing or using CRM Online or Windows Intune, that's the public cloud side of it. What we're going to focus on in a lot of the delivery for what we're going to be currently talking about in the series is really the ability to use the Windows Server down here in the private cloud environment. So we're going to be spending our time down here in private cloud. But let's talk real quick about what is hybrid. So hybrid is the meeting between what we have on our public cloud offerings and marrying that with and integrating that with what we have on our private cloud side of things. So when we look at Windows Server and System Center and Office and these products that for a better term run on bare metal, that's what we refer to as our private cloud infrastructure. And then things that we use as services or platform as a service or software as a service, those are our public cloud offerings. And what you get down the road is a Windows Server 2012 running in Windows Azure and being able to, federate Active Directory from what we have, say, on private cloud infrastructure and federating, identity of users into Windows Azure. So that's kind of a look at what hybrid cloud is all about. But as you may or may not know, there's a huge transformation going on right now in everything that we touch as far as computing. So, let's start by talking a little bit about what trends are unfolding in the market and how they affect the data center and our customers, their IT investments. And then we'll dive into private cloud. So first, kind of as an industry level, there's a fundamental shift towards cloud computing, and that means that there's a new breed of applications that need to be built as well. New apps that need to be able to reach that cloud scale. They need to be obviously accessible 24/7 from anywhere, and they need to be deployable on premise, in the cloud, and also in that hybrid environments. So for consumers, the consumers of these applications and data are largely, from my perspective, end users with an increasing variety of compute devices. Everybody has these different devices, whether it's iPhone, iPad, Windows Phone, Android, they're talking go get so, watch, what have you. All these devices consume resources and a mobile work style that allows a lot of people to be productive, and it doesn't matter wherever they are, whenever they want. So from our perspective, it's like we don't really care about the device. We care about, especially with System Center, being able to manage all those devices, keeping a solid ecosystem, keeping it secure, being able to provision those devices, be able to push out new product to those devices, as well as wipe the device, those types of things. So, the demand for ubiquitous, if you will, applications with access to data really come from anywhere to any place on that triggering data on those devices. So the interesting stat is the volume of data will continue to grow. We're hearing that it's going to grow this data explosion in double-digit percentages in the future. And then finally, of course, the entire way computing is being done is definitely changing. Cloud computing has replaced the traditional tying in specific applications to specific servers. I'm not talking about NT4 where we just wanted to provision another server. We have NT4 as a file server. We have Windows NT4 as a print server, right? Those days are gone where we've consolidated workloads on a multi-purpose server. And now I think what we're going to see now is application specific to servers with new concepts, right? Concepts like pooled resources around compute, network, and storage resources. So, and looking at also and deploying IT applications from what we refer to as an elastic self-service. So we're gonna talk more about that. Really, as we talk about cloud services, what we're really talking about here is the transformation of technology through innovations of compute, storage, and networking. So these are really the big three pieces. When we talk about the modern data center, it's perhaps kind of the best to start with what's happening at the system level, right? What's happening with silicon? What's happening to a single blade, a single system, and then perhaps a cluster, right? So the fundamental thing that all of us have looking at, at this point are tracking pretty closely to the notion that storage, compute, and networking are co-evolving, right? There's always going to be something new out there. And Microsoft, we do our best to try to adapt to our OEMs and hardware vendors to bring that innovation of hardware into our operating systems. So once again, all of this is really, from a better term, co-evolving. So, at the compute level, you're looking at more powerful multi-core chips, are entering the data center every day. While the density of memory keeps going up, the cost of memory keeps going down. So once you have a lot of a lot of compute power, there's not much you can do there other than go with bigger, faster, stronger. So it does give us the opportunity to do that a lot better. Some reason my slides are advancing without the help of my manual trigger of the mouse. So I took all the timings out of here. So John, Alex, move away from the keyboard. No, it's all good. So the last part about this is the trends to more performant and less expensive storage solutions means that really industry standard hardware will be used reliable, be available, and low-cost storage devices. So that's where we're coming to. Is we look at, finally with lots of compute and storage resources, the last thing you want is your network to become a bottleneck. But fortunately, fast interconnects between storage and compute nodes have emerged so that driving through a lot of this innovation. Also, high-speed Ethernet and network offload technologies like RDMA have become more mainstream. So we'll talk more about it. But the key here is the coevolution of storage, compute, network is really around software control, right? You can't really afford in an IT infrastructure as system administrators, you really can't afford to have control fragmentation, because if you do that, you're not going to be able to achieve, I think, the economic and agility benefits and the innovation benefits you'll get with these systems at high density that high density can provide. So it's really coming down to the compute, the storage, and the networking pieces of it. So let's talk about the next piece here, and that is the modern platform for the world's apps. So there's a lot here. Here at Microsoft, we've been learning by delivering global scale services from our data centers, which requires, what I believe a new era of IT. We've taken these learnings together with the trends and the technology innovations that are provided by the industry, right? Put them into our core products to deliver them to you in what we call the Cloud OS. So when you hear about Cloud OS, we're really referring to the Microsoft, cloud, the heart of the Cloud OS, which is Windows Server 2012. So our unique engineering experiences is really the heart of the Cloud OS and the heart of our products. So we engineer from the cloud up, which means that every customer benefits from the learnings that we've learned both inside and outside Microsoft, because a lot of the tools and technologies that you see or hearing about today, we actually eat our own dog food. So we use the tools and technologies internally to perfect them and then roll those out to our end users. So customers really are asking for and seeking a modern platform to take advantage of all the trends that are crossing their application portfolio. So the first one, the transform the data center. So and the unit, just the basic unit of compute has changed from single server to data center, right? Customers need an infrastructure that provides a generational leap in agility. Delivering those highly elastic, scalable infrastructures on demand, always up, services always running, and have that run across a set of shared resources with automation like PowerShell and self-servicing provisioning like some of our System Center products. So the next one would be in the list here would be enable the modern apps. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on apps today. We do have a slide on apps and HTML5 and some of the Visual Studio components, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time on apps. I'm going to spend more on the server side. So, but today's apps need to interact and exchange data with other apps, obviously. So apps built on multiple platforms and languages, they need to integrate and also integrate things like social data and foster social connections among users. They need to live on-premise and off-premise, right? And be able to deliver out to multiple devices. So as modern apps evolve, fast time to solution and lifecycle management to be able to build these applications, to get them to market, to push them out to all these devices. One look at one application may look different on the different devices, but getting that out is critical. Unlocking insight on any data, so to better compete, our customers need to tap into growing data volumes, especially with unstructured data. Like we've heard the term big data, right? What does big data mean? Does that mean analytics with business intelligence? When we talk about unstructured data or big data, to ask new questions around that and discover new data sources which you can combine with what you have in your applications today. Really, customers need to deliver data to more and more users every day with the right kind of IT oversight to help users make faster, better business decisions. Not only help users, but help your system administrators and the people that are provisioning new hardware, new servers, and creating applications. And the last one is the empowers people-centric IT. So what does that mean? Well, obviously, with the proliferation and range of all the new devices today, a lot of our users expect to be productive wherever they choose, on whatever device they choose. And IT, from our side, needs to easily manage these devices and securely deliver apps and data in an extended mobile environment. So with the Microsoft Cloud OS, really having that opportunity to uniquely deliver on those needs based on also scenarios. So the Cloud OS is a consistent platform with a common set of technologies to help all of our IT professionals have and manage those applications, manage those environments, and hopefully using similar skills, some new skills, and enhancing their knowledge and experience around these platforms. So let's go ahead and go back into the next slide here as we kind of bring the build out to it. So we're talking about where we bring in, the development environments, the unified development operations management with System Center, common identity, implementing Active Directory as a powerful asset across the environments to help, extend your enterprise to the cloud with the internet scale security capabilities and extending the data and apps to your devices, integrated virtualization. So Microsoft is engineered for cloud, from the bare metal all the way up to the virtualization set, built an integration of all the elements. So for instance, if I build out a Windows Server 2012 virtual machine in Hyper-V in Windows Server in my private cloud, I can also spin up Windows Server as a VM in Windows Azure and have the same integration of technologies, whether I'm in public cloud or private cloud, or yet even integrating those through virtualization and being able to make those two on-premise and in the cloud talk together. The only thing you can't really run in Windows Azure is Hyper-V, because when you're running a VM in Azure, you're actually running it in our hypervisor. So with the exception of Hyper-V in the public cloud, you can still have all the greatness of Windows Server up there in Azure as well, and be able to manage those from Windows Server on-premise as well. So drum roll, please. Now we're talking about the modern platform for the world's applications, right? As we start talking about introducing Windows Server and uniquely delivering consistent and comprehensive set of those capabilities to our system administrators and IT professionals. So that's kind of the background around all the cloud enablement. Try to give you a big picture about where we've been. Where's Microsoft been in cloud technologies, where we're at today, and maybe perhaps in the hybrid scenario where we may want to be tomorrow. So beyond virtualization, power of servers, the simplicity of one, and then managing multiple servers, every app, any cloud, modern work styles enabled. These are the bigger pieces that we're going to dig into today and talk a little bit more about. So, with Windows Server 2012, it takes you beyond the virtualization. What we mean by that is, offering a dynamic, multi-tenant infrastructure that goes well beyond the virtualization technologies to give you this complete platform, whether it's on-premise in your infrastructure or whether it's in the cloud with Windows Azure or with infrastructure services, or whether it's a hybrid between the two. Also, integrating kind of a central console. I know we do a good job with Server Manager. I think Ron's got a demo on Server Manager coming up. But the biggest thing there is easy to manage multi-server platform environment. If you've got 1,000 servers in your infrastructure, what'd be nice about that is if I'm an Exchange enterprise administrator, or I'm a SQL administrator within Server Manager, having the ability to have one server, be able to use Server Manager, and only put in, based on admin credentials, put in the servers that I'm responsible for. So I don't want to see all the servers in my infrastructure. Maybe I'm only interested in seeing the SQL servers or the Exchange servers. I can slice and dice my console to only show me those servers and give me remote access to those servers and be able to provision and update and add roles and features to those servers remotely, either through Server Manager or through the remote server administration tool, RSAT tool, that we can run on Windows 8 and do that remotely. So the power of many servers, and also having the simplicity of one that we can manage our total infrastructure. Every app on any cloud, so giving us the ability to scale and have elastic web and application platforms, the ability to push those up into the cloud on premise or in the public cloud. And then also, I talked about this earlier, it's getting out of control. I know all these devices, right? Everybody just wants to be able to be connected, no matter where they're at, anytime, anywhere. And once again, back to that any device. So it's always been, iPhone, iPad, and then Microsoft phone commercials hitting the iPhone commercials, right? Everybody's trying to battle. Right now, I think it's best to step back and say, there's a lot of good devices out there, right? The biggest thing is stepping back from a system administrator perspective and saying, these are all great devices, but how do we keep our infrastructure secure? How do we manage those devices? And Windows Server 2012 and the integration with also the Windows System Center SP1 and also the R2 products coming out even give us that better extension into managing, any device, anywhere, anytime. I remember back in the day, that was one of Bill Gates' vision was, a computer on every desk, on in every home running Microsoft software. Wow, what an undertaking, right? But Bill Gates, my idol, he had a vision, and that vision has really come true, right? At least for the most part. But we all know that now, back in the day, it was remember the last part, running Windows on any device, anywhere. The last part, running Microsoft software, right? So pretty close, Bill, pretty close on that big goal. But now we know that it's not really a homogeneous environment with strictly Microsoft. It's a heterogeneous environment with different types of technologies, whether it's Linux, whether it's running Oracle and SQL or MySQL and all these different technologies. We know that it's a heterogeneous environment. So where we come strong into play here with our product suite is that now we're more opening to running, and managing devices that aren't Microsoft. Specifically, when I look at System Center and things like Virtual Machine Manager, and being able to, tell me one product in the industry that lets you manage from a virtualization perspective, beyond virtualization. What I mean by that is, how about a single pane of glass where I can manage my Citrix Xen servers, my VMware, my ESXi servers. You have to have a vCenter server in order to do that, though. And then my Hyper-V platform of my VMs. So running VMware, Citrix, and Microsoft all on a single pane of glass and manage that infrastructure from System Center or Virtual Machine Manager, all I can say is, wow. So we're getting there, and it's a big undertaking, but now we know that, we're looking at not a perfect world, homogeneous environment. We're looking at lots of working parts. So that's going to be more apparent when we get into, talking about what we're going to be talking about in this 5-part series. So beyond virtualization, we talk about that, providing you both, new and enhanced features that deliver, a dynamic data center and cloud infrastructure, but also more flexible running workloads and doing your networking and managing your storage. It also, a key here is it also provides a policy-based resources that are, for better terms, straightforward to administer, but offer a lot more agility in responding to the shifting business in your infrastructure. So we know that's huge. To be able to, shake and move with the industry because it moves very fast. And oftentimes people think that Microsoft is just trying to pump out another operating system, but you have to look back and look at our OEMs and our resellers and the people that our customers like yourself that bring us this feedback. If a 10 GBE Ethernet card comes out, then we're going to write software to be able to take control over that piece of OEM hardware and write the drivers and make it work in our operating systems. So in real life, it's the OEMs and the hardware in the IEEE and people that just keep making things better and better and better that drive us to innovate our software into those new pieces of hardware. Like I can't wait for 802.11 AC of 10 gigabit wireless. So we're gonna write to that, right, as soon as the IEEE makes that a standard. So some exciting things coming out, I believe, in the future. What's even more exciting is the fact that we got this whole client server back in the day. Remember that? Remember when Al Gore invented the internet with ARPA and DARPA, right? And we were using Cal Berkeley to manage IP in this thing called the World Wide Web. And then we moved to this kind of archaic, the Super Cray computer. The Super Cray computer, where we have these green screens or amber screen dumb terminals hanging off this Super Cray computer, or the AS400 where we do a screen scrape. But the point was we kept all our data in this data center, right? Whether it was a Cray computer, whether it was an AS400, whatever it was, and we would connect to that from a so-called dumb terminal, and we would spawn that data down to those terminals and get our work done. But everything would write back to that main data center. So for me, in my 20 years with the company, or actually going in 25 years into IT and have my 20 year coming up, looking at the days with the first version of Windows to where we're at today, when we start talking about client server, it's kind of full circle, but much, much more powerful, much more integrated. And of course, moving with the technology. So when we talk about, virtualization, whether you're on premise with your private cloud running Hyper-V and virtual machines, or whether you're using Windows Azure, building VMs from the gallery and running virtual machines in the cloud, or maybe using VPN between them to marry these in a hybrid scenario, is really what we're talking about when we're talking about beyond virtualization. The first thing, we really look at is when we're talking about virtualization, for sure, is the ability to bring new technologies and also compete in the industry. So there's a lot that we're doing. I mean, I have to admit that the first version of Hyper-V 1.0, was a little bit to be desired, but now we're in Hyper-V 3. And I really do, and we'll talk about this more in the Hyper-V part 2, about we'll stack it up. We'll stack it up to the competition. We'll go side by side. Even with VMworld, with vSphere 5.1, and looking at the comparisons of Hyper-V 3, we really are on the same playing field. And I'm hoping that we can win the game, right? But it all comes down to having the best technology, the best vendor, if you will, the best opportunity to do what no other business can do based on our software. So let's talk a little about this first box, and then I'll move on as time keeps ticking away. But we get a lot of our customers that are looking at, or maybe they already are already using virtualization technology today to consolidate servers and reduce their costs. But next, they need to be able to secure and scale those virtualized services to go beyond the virtualization. Like I said, Hyper-V is built upon our stuff, our building blocks of private cloud, offering secure multi-tenancy, right? Having multiple vendors if you're a partner or you're a hoster, being able to sandbox your customers, flexible resource placement, the enormous scalability, and more importantly, the cross-premise reliability of those hosted services. So, get a lot of questions. I'm sure you get a lot of questions whether you're on the phones or out in the field talking to customers. You get questions like, do you need an isolate isolate your virtual servers or networks that belong to different customers or departments, regardless of where these resources are located in your data center. Well, now you can't. Do you need to move running virtual machines from one physical server to another with no downtime, right? Inside or outside clusters? You can do that with Windows Server 2012. How about virtualizing your most critical resource-intensive workloads? I wouldn't say that running Exchange, and that's mainly Office 365 play, or running Exchange in the public cloud. But when we run SQL Server, either as a platform, as a service, where I just got SQL as a database, or whether I run SQL Server in Azure, running infrastructure as a service where I have server and SQL, as a base image, and building that out on our private clouds. Basically, it's where do you want to run it? You want to run it inside the data center, outside the data center? These are all questions. How about if you want to run SQL, that's great. Or configuring off-site server replicas to replicate your stuff off, keep your services running, perhaps after a catastrophic failure. That's possible, right? So when we start talking about, or we hear Microsoft people talking about the complete virtualization platform, well, what we're really talking about there is the ability to build out, or for us to deliver from the public cloud side of it, deliver a dynamic data center, right, and cloud infrastructure where your workloads, your virtual networking, your storage becomes more flexible, policy-based resources, the increased agility to minimize your downtime. And how about basically when you're installing or implementing, provisioning a Windows Server on-premise bare metal in your private infrastructure, you're going to have probably multiple blade servers running copies of server. So what comes to mind, right, are the ways in which you have to manage things like shared nothing lab migration, which is the ability to migrate virtual machines from one Hyper-V host to another Hyper-V host that isn't part of the same cluster, shares no storage, and has only a gigabit Ethernet connection to the first virtual machine without or very little minimal downtime. So shared nothing lab migration looks very much like the combination of SMB. Thank you. I've been enlightened as well. The combination of the ability to have those resources where you can provide the integration of mirroring and writing the data back and forth between the migration of shared nothing. Another one is with shared nothing lab migration, you can move virtual machines among Windows Server 2012 Hyper-V hosts, even when they have nothing in common but a shared Ethernet cable. So that's pretty huge, right? How about Hyper-V network virtualization? So isolating virtual machines of different departments or customers, as we know, it can be a big challenge on a shared network. So with when these customers and departments need to isolate networks of virtual machines, the challenge even increases more. Traditionally, virtual local area networks are used to isolate networks with VLAN tags, but VLANs become very complex to manage on a large scale. So we have Hyper-V network virtualization to help solve this problem. With this feature, it's not just features, but total benefits. You can isolate your network traffic from, different business units or customers on a shared infrastructure with using VLANs. Also, it lets you move virtual machines as needed within your virtual machine infrastructure while preserving their virtual network assignments. Sometimes when you move VMs around, it breaks all your your Hyper-V network virtualization. So what we want that to do is you can even use it to where you can transparently kind of integrate these private networks into pre-existing infrastructure on another site. It's kind of cookie cuttering what you have from your virtual networking over to another site. And then probably the last piece that I talk about in that first pillar is that resource metering. So the ability to track historical data about each customer's use of virtual machines. So integrating that with quality of service, ability to guarantee a baseline minimal bandwidth to a virtual machine or service. So these are big enhancements to the product. Improved scale and performance. So of course, high density, high scalable environment is needed for have optimal levels to run these applications based on customer needs. So we have we're expanding things like VHD, virtual hard disk format, with larger disk capacities of by the way, up to 64 terabytes, and with some built-in back-end additional resiliency there too. So these features really help ensure that with your run Windows Server, that your virtualization infrastructure can support the configuration of today large, high-performance virtual machines that support these bigger workloads that may need to be scaled up, right? Also, dynamic memory. So dynamic memory, that was a great addition to really introduced in Windows Server 2008 R2 SP1. Included startup memory, if you remember that, defined as the minimum amount of memory that a virtual machine would have to start up. But now when we look at, dynamic memory is having the ability to improve, the Hyper-V, where administrators can attain higher consolidation numbers to improve the way that virtual machine runs. So, for instance, and it can also lead to lower costs for your customers if you're in selling that in the environment is talking about dynamic memory and smart paging and those types of technologies. So with runtime configuration changes for dynamic memory, you're really getting the overall IT kick there for our Hyper-V customers and expected an increase in performance, but what we're really looking at is a reduction of downtime, and more importantly, having the ability to move very quickly, for a better term, being agile to respond to the changes that are happening in the environment. And that last pillar, more secure, reliable platform connecting cloud services to a common, what we refer to as management framework or identity framework across premise connectivity, federating identities and increasing data protection. So we talk about federation with Active Directory federation, or the server role that you can install in Server Manager, where you can identify customers with a single sign-on. Usually we're using a web server, with certificates, and we're using that going through federation to say, okay, and you can use other types of federation technologies as well, or using ADFS in there to simplify your identity federation. Then we have claims aware identity, so a feature called dynamic access control that gives our customers new ways to control access to their data. Specifically if they're under regulatory compliance. So, that's one thing that's new, is it provides this next generation authorization and auditing controls, along with data classification capabilities that allow internal orgs to apply information governance to unstructured data on their file servers. So admins can have greater control over file server data by using user or device claims. So, and they use an ACL model, so kind of a centralized authorization and auditing policy management, if you will, and it basically helps their bottom line. So things like identity files through automatic and manual tagging, or to centrally control access to files, audit files for reporting and analysis, RMS, rights management, protected sensitive office files, etc. And then the last piece there is that the last one in the box here, which is your cross-premise connectivity. So what we refer to as VPN site-to-site functionality and remote access. So we're going to talk more about these pieces coming up later on. So hopefully everybody's with me so far. Okay, so kind of moving through this a little bit quicker. I want to spend most of the time on the virtualization because that's really where we're going to spend the majority of our time in the next series of the next 4 parts after this to make this 5-part series one big package for you is to go through and talk about flexible storage. So when we're talking about flexible storage, there's these 3 pillars here. Bring in file and storage services. So things like the new server message block 3 or SMB 3 protocol for a low-cost industry standard hardware to be able to have a variety of ways that we can store our data and move files around the environment. Things like storage spaces. It gives us a little bit better of a price point to better cost-effective, optimally used, high available, scalable area in which we can take just a bunch of disks or JBOD, whether it's iSCSI or SAS or SSD, we can take these and pull them into one contiguous volume. It's called the storage pool. So with storage spaces, also gives us the ability to right out of the box, be able to provide either single node or scalable multi-node deployments. ODX, I saw a really cool demo at TechEd, not this year, last year. Jeff Woolsey, one of our program managers for Windows Server team in internal Microsoft, did an offline data transfer. He was dragging a 10 gig file from one bare metal host to another bare metal host, copying that 10 gig file in about 10 seconds, less than 10 seconds, 10 gig in 10 seconds. Pretty amazing. We'll talk more about the technology around ODX, but it's really a new hardware feature. OEM hardware, new hardware feature that allows for copying that large amount of data from one location to another. So it provides, basically it's passing a token up from one point to another point, and then moving that through a bus technology down on the lower level of the data, moving the data across that intelligent bus array instead of moving the data up and over. So very, very cool technology. Continuous availability. Boy, marketing is getting better at naming some of this stuff. Continuous availability, the availability of continuous service. Beautiful, right? There are some marketing terms that actually make sense, right? So enabling continuous availability by providing at a good cost point, right, the highest IT service uptime, right, to protect your environments and make this a big undertaking, but make this transparently, across a wide range of failure scenarios. So what if my server goes offline? Well, I have another one that continually runs. If I have a VM that goes down or I want to do offline maintenance, I can move and migrate those virtual machines off. So different things happening at different times. Some key features, Active Directory file cluster or server clustering. So we're using cluster share volumes v2. So you can create file shares that provide simultaneous access to data while that direct input output or that direct I/O through all the nodes in file server cluster are actively running. So this means maximum ability to have file serving within your environment. With transparent failover. Now you can transparently fail over without interruptions to the server applications that are accessing data on the shares. So if a hardware or software failures occurs, perhaps on a clustered node, transparent failover lets file shares fail over to another cluster node without interrupting the service applications as they read and write that data on the shares. Really cool feature, Hyper-V Replica. So that provides a storage agnostic, workload agnostic solution that replicates efficiently all that data over. So that's in a disaster if it occurs at a primary site, admins can quickly restore their business operations by bringing up the replicated virtual machine at the replica site. So Hyper-V Replica provides a kind of a virtual machine level, tightly integrated feature, Hyper-V Manager and failover clustering feature that comes with Windows Server 2012. So those are some of the bigger pieces. As I move into There's also Hyper-V Manager. I think we're going to have a quick demo here in just a moment if we've got time for that. But we're going to move forward. PowerShell, we're going to be talking more about that in the upcoming parts as well. IT on demand, so every app, any cloud. We're looking at really just an open application web platform that Microsoft provides. So building your next and running your next generation applications both on-premise and the cloud, being able to have flexible programming type technologies, not just our stuff. Being able to have the ability to run thousands of applications already built that you're running today, leveraging also some of our tools, Visual Studio, .NET Framework, and Span, those applications that are on-prem, and expand those into the cloud. Also porting over virtual machines and using some of the conversion tools that we have. I talked about hybrid clouds. There's NUMA-aware scalability, referring to the computer architecture NUMA, a multi-processor system in which the time required for a processor to access memory depends on the memory's location relative to the processor. So it helps things speed up a lot quicker. IIS CPU throttling being used to set the maximum CPU consumption allowed per application pool. We're doing a lot with centralized SSL certificate management. So there's a lot going on here, and then of course bringing in those developer tools, ASP.NET 4.5 integration, WebSocket protocol with HTML5 support. So there's a lot there from the development side to integrate with our private cloud. Enabling the modern work style enabled, and we're kind of wrapping things up here. As we would look at, back to the main goal from any IT shop is accessing data from any device, anywhere, anytime, and having, more importantly, from a system admin perspective, having that data available, right? Keeping that available, keeping it running. And then with the demand of a modern work style, we're looking more and more at providing virtual desktop infrastructure, remote FX, pushing out big graphics over the pipe where we don't have to have actual GPU processors in the box and bare metal. Now we can use software to help us push out data, big large streaming bits of data over the pipe. USB, being able to use USB redirection, USB devices. So there's a lot that's offered. And then, of course, also on the security side with dynamic access control, being able to lock down things with access to file data and while still kind of achieving regulatory compliance. So dynamic access control helps us kind of nail down and restrict access to sensitive files regardless of user actions. Active Directory rights management, BitLocker drive encryption, you probably know what those are. Encrypting the data on the fly. That's telling me that I've got 1 minute. We do have the last slide here, and then if we got time, we'll go back and do a demo. But we're getting a lot of traction. We're getting a lot of traction on Windows Server. I hear a lot of people in the field. I go out and I do TechNet events and a lot of events out there. And we're seeing, even when we announced in 2011, we've seen a lot of traction with the product. 200 early deployment programs of customers using it in our RDP and TAP programs, and 500,000 downloads in the pre-release code. Obviously, it's out today. I've talked to a lot of IT professionals. Some are not so psyched up with the new UI, with the tiles and all that. But I think once they warm up to it, they find that searching for things, moving around the environment is kind of a lot easier on server. If they don't want to have the GUI, then they can always go and use Core Server and use PowerShell and our remote tools to manage a command prompt. So there's the best of both worlds. So with that, I'd like to give you your homework assignment. If you're still listening in, or those that stuck around, the ticket to the ticket to the show is to actually go out and learn more about what we're doing with Windows Server. You can go to aka.ms Go MVA. You'll see right here, Go MVA. That's the Microsoft Virtual Academy. We can get free training. Experience, you want to look at different blog posts. You want to check out what I'm writing about or things I'm posting on my blog, check it out, aka.ms/Blaine Barton. And more importantly, the homework assignment today will have all of you that are on today, as well as your partners, your peers, your colleagues, and your children, and perhaps grandparents. Go up and download Windows Server, kick the tires, give it a go. HTTP, aka.ms/MS products. That's a ticket to the show. You click on that, you'll see my blog page. If you could just download Windows Server, maybe check out the ISO, maybe check out the VHD. We have a canned VHD you can bring right into Hyper-V. Great start for the next part series, part 2. Which we'll get into. So once again, aka.ms/MS products, download Server, get it ready, because in part 2, it's what's new with Hyper-V, Hyper-V Replica, and part 3, automation and management, part 4, new file and storage services, followed up with the final, part 505, high availability, clustering, and a little peek at System Center. So with that, I thank you. I've got 303. I'm pretty much on par here. I want to thank Adnan for being there in case we had Q&A. Rowan Daly, I think we want to show a demo if we can, but I'm going to leave it up to John and Alex. Parts 2 through 5 will have more demos and more interactive environment. But today is really paving the way for what is this whole Microsoft cloud thing? What is public cloud? What's private cloud? And kind of bringing those together. So with that, I'm Blaine Barton, and thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, so what I think maybe we'll do is we'll just open it up, since we still have quite a bit of the audience still left. We open it up for questions, in case anybody just has anything burning they want to ask. So we'll unmute, here in just a second, let anybody ask any questions. And then I guess if you guys want, we can do the demos, and if people want to stick around, that's fine, I would say, if that's okay with everybody else. Sounds good.
Sure. So we can go into the demo if you'd like. I know we had some closing slides. Would we want to cover those first?
Let's actually just open up for questions right now, and then we can talk about the promotions and maybe do the demo after that. Just in case someone just has something, they just dying to ask. I don't know if anybody does, but I'm gonna. You want to unmute it, Alex? Just. If anybody has any questions? Go ahead and ask now. Gotcha. If anybody has any questions, for myself or the presenter, we go ahead and take those now. No questions? Good then. If you do, like I said, the good thing is myself and Alex, we're available 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if there's something you wanted to drill down a little more on, you can always contact us directly. And that was like slide 3 or 4 in the presentation, which we'll make available for download here in just a minute. Also, at this point, we do have a couple polls. If you guys want to do them, one about an evaluation, the other is about the pace of the presentation. So we encourage you to to take the polls. And then I know JJ, if you want to go through a couple of the last 2 slides that we had, that's up to you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being on this call. We're very privileged to have Blaine and Adnan and Roan be on our Tech Data calls with us, and it's a unique opportunity that the Tech Data is able to provide to you. One of the things that I want to make sure that you're aware of as well while you're filling out these polls, I'll put the slides up in just a second, is the fact that we do have some exciting promotions right now as it pertains to Windows Server in the marketplace right now. So I know you're watching this presentation, you're probably learning a lot. Maybe you're the technical guy of the group, maybe you do dual roles and you're also in sales, and you're thinking, okay, how are we going to generate some more server revenue? And Microsoft, as you know, our fiscal year ends at the end of June, so we've got some exciting promotions still in play that you might want to take a look at. So let me just go ahead and pull that up really quick here, and we can let me see which deck it is here. Is it the first one? Let me just go ahead and show you the quick promotions that we've got so that you can go ahead and utilize these and generate some more revenue. Let me go ahead and pull up this first one. And that is, if you're not already taking advantage of this, I wanted to point out two interesting areas, and this is on June 30th. Very easy to sign up for. It's absolutely free to sign up for. And if you are a Microsoft partner already, again, just takes a couple of clicks, and you have until June 15th to enroll in the VAR rebate if you haven't already done so. So what I wanted to point out on this particular slide as it pertains to Windows Server sales is if you look at the core section, if you're a VAR or a top VAR or VCC, and you'll know whether or not you're a top VAR or VCC, but everyone is at least a VAR, you can receive at least 5.5% back in terms of a rebate check directly from Microsoft for simply selling Windows Server Standard and any Windows Server Cal. So that sounds pretty good, 3%, right? But take a look at the green section over there under incubation. Did you know that if you sell one copy of Windows Server Data Center, you receive at least 20% back from Microsoft in terms of a VAR rebate. And this is free money. This is not something you have to try to earn back from your customers. It comes directly from Microsoft, and anyone at Tech Data on the Microsoft team can help guide you through this promo. Now, to make it a little bit sweeter, in addition to these promos, we also have some other promotions right now in play called the Hyper-V Surge. So you can earn up to $500 on every single Windows Server data center that you deploy, and actually started back in early April, but April 15th, servers, Windows Server Standard or Windows Server Data Center 2012 that you deployed between April 15th, that you sold between April 15th and June 30th. So this is retroactive. Even if you hadn't heard about this promo until today, you can receive $500 for every data center installation, $150 for every 2012 standard installation. And you have until September 30th to actually go through and make your claims for these. So again, take advantage of this. I know you probably sold a Windows Server or two in, maybe in April, maybe in May. As long as it was between April 15th and June 30th, you're good to go. All right, and with that, I don't know if we have another. I think we have another poll, but I just wanted to bring this last slide up so that John and Alice could speak to this.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, at the beginning, this is part of our Better Together series, and we really feel like there's a very strong partnership between Tech Data and Microsoft, and obviously you as our reseller partners. And we're just, again, trying to do some things to add value for you. We definitely would appreciate any feedback you have. Again, we're just here to help and to make it better and give you guys some of the things you need. My goal in this whole series is to make you more aware of the things and get into the details in Server 2012. It's such an amazing product. It's so exciting. We just want you guys to, see the things we see and drink the Kool-Aid, and so we can pass it on to the end customer. But at this point, I think they're maybe ready for the demo. Is that correct, Blaine? So if you guys want to stick around, more than happy to, but I think we have the demo or we don't. I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, no, I know that Ron was talking about possibly doing the Windows Server Manager demo, but since we are going to dive deeper into Windows Server Hyper-V next time around, I think he's going to show the Hyper-V Manager at that point. But Ron, if you're able to show the Server Manager demo for at least the folks that are still online, that'd be great.
Yeah, I have my screen loading. I'm just going to go over Server Manager quickly. Blaine talked about the one-to-many approach, right? And the thing that you'll find with Server Manager, it's really redesigned in Windows 2012. And we're talking about managing servers in the cloud, whether it be private cloud or a hybrid cloud scenario. So you want to have tools that allow you to be able to flexibly manage your servers from a simple interface, right? You don't want to be using, sometimes it gets difficult when you need to connect to a server using ILO or remote desktop. And gone are the days where you're standing in front of the server, but you still need to be able to do or perform activities on that individual server. So, for example, when you go into Windows 2012 and you look at Server Manager, one of the first things that you'll see is that it has a true overview of all the servers in your environment, so to speak, or the servers that you are responsible for managing, right? So visibility, very, very important, because if you're managing a data center, one of the core things that you want to know is, what are the highlights and the lowlights, what's happening under the hood of my servers. So Server Manager allows you the ability to see what is taking place with all your servers in the environment, right? So here I have a few servers, I have some domain controllers, I have DHCP running, I have DNS, I have some servers that are responsible for file and storage, and I can see clearly, right, that there might be some issues on some of my servers. So one of the things that I'm able to do is quickly drill down to see what is actually taking place and what servers are actually creating or are causing these issues in my environment, right? So quickly, as I said, Server Manager is, one of the things is the look and feel. It has really changed. And if you notice, right, it kind of gives you the web browser kind of feel. And one of the things that I can quickly do is, if I want to drill down in a particular area, right? If I want to drill down in a particular area, I can quickly go to DHCP, right? And I'll see all my servers that are DHCP related. Somebody says they're not seeing the demo. Is everybody seeing? Okay, cool. Great. All right. So the next thing that you know about Server Manager is that I can, if I go to my left pane, one of the things that I can see is all my servers that I'm responsible for, or all the servers that are listed in my environment, right? So here I have some domain controllers. I have a server that is running IP address management, and we'll talk about that in one of the upcoming webcasts. This is a server that I'm running that has some tools on, and this is a cluster that I'm running here. So one of the nice things about Server Manager is if I click on the server and I right click on that server, it gives me a contextual view in the sense that whatever roles or services are configured on the server, right, I'm able to quickly jump to one of the MMCs. For example, in this case, this machine is a read-only domain controller. So I have my Active Directory users and computers, sites and services. So from one server in my environment, right, I can quickly open up an MMC that targets directly this machine or the roles that are running on this machine, right? Similarly, for my my other DCs, I can do the same thing. But here, right, this server is a cluster. If I right-click on it, right, so it's contextual. I'm able to focus and run the tools or consoles that are focused on the actual services that are installed on this machine. So we talk about the other things that we can actually do in Server Manager. One of the things that you'll notice, right, quickly, I'm able to see events, right, that are taking place on all my servers that I'm actually actively managing. And if I particularly want to filter on a server, right, I can quickly filter on the server by name because all my headers here, so the server name, the ID, the severity, the source, right, I can quickly filter by any one of these tabs, right, quickly on the dashboard pane. One of the things that I can do, so let's say, for example, every day that I come into my environment, right, I'm always looking for a particular event ID, right? So if I go here and I create a query, right? So let's say I want to look for a particular event ID, and that event ID in this case is 1001, right? Again, right, it would filter for that event ID. But the thing that I can do is actually I can save this as a query, right? Right? I can save that as a query, right? If we clear this, right? What I can do if I come back on a daily basis, right? My query is saved, right? I can quickly run that actual query and get the listing of that event as they take place in my environment. The other thing that, again, along the one-to-many approach, I can see all services that are running on the machines that I'm managing, right? And I can quickly right-click on one server, right? Or let's say, for example, I filtered on Hub. I have some servers with the name It's just showing my one machine at this moment. But if I was managing multiple machines, or I can restart, I can actually do this. I can restart multiple services on this one machine from this management server easily. So this is just core the one-to-many approach, the one-to-many way of managing services and servers from one console within Windows 12 with 2012. Here, for example, roles and features. If I install a role and feature on a machine, I can quickly go here and remove that role without having to, remote into the machine or going via ILO to connect to that machine. I can also go to the Manage tab, right? And I can quickly add roles and features. So if I was to go here and add a role and feature, right? I can quickly add roles and features to any of a number of servers that I'm currently managing. One of the other things that you typically want to do is that I could, organize. So here from my dashboard, right, I can see an organized view of the servers that I'm managing. So here I'm managing some domain controllers. I'm managing servers that are running DHCP. I'm managing servers that are running DNS, right? And as I click on my listing of servers or groups or server grouping, I'm able to see items that are drilled down to see events that are focused on the actual group or service that I'm managing. So in this case, right, if I jump back here, I don't see any events from a domain controller, NTDS events. If I go to this group, right, here I'm seeing my DHCP events, right, because I'm now focused on my DHCP server. And also, you can actually create your own server groups, right? So let's say, for example, I decided that I want to create a group of servers that was called hub servers. So what I'll do, I can go out, discover the servers in my environment. I can add them by DNS, by IP address name, or if I had a text file or an XML file, I could actually import the servers here. So here I have some servers already in a pool, right? I'm just going to select all my hub servers, right? I'm going to add them here, and then I'm going to go here and call that server group hub servers, right? And hit OK, right? And then, right, I'll have this server group here that represents all my servers that, that could be in a hub site. So I have 2 domain controllers. I have a server that is running IP address management, and then I have another jump box or a server that, some member server in my environment. And here I'm able to see and view events, what services are running on a particular server. So again, this is the one-to-many approach. And use also, obviously, one of the things that I could run here is performance counters. So again, right, it's the ability to manage from one interface all the servers in my environment and be able to flexibly and easily manage your cloud infrastructure, from whether it be, server manager on a Windows 2012 box, or if you install remote system administration tools on your Windows 8 client, right? We could seamlessly manage the environment just from one box, not jumping into multiple management consoles, but having a clear, holistic view of our environment from the server manager dashboard. And we will continue with additional demos in the interest of time. I know we're over. We will continue with other demos in the other sessions in the series, and we will, we are also available offline. If you have any questions, you can send us an email, and we'll be able to help you, making the case as it may be, to help your customers deploy Windows 2012. Blaine, back to you.
Well, thanks, Ron. That was a great demo. Once again, I want to say thank you for having us on the today's part 1. We'll have part 2 next week, June 17th, I believe, Wednesday, 2 to 3 Eastern. So with that, I'll turn it back to John.
No problem at all. Again, just to to say again, thanks to everyone, especially to Microsoft, and again, really especially to our reseller partners. Without you, we definitely wouldn't have the success we have. We appreciate everything you do for us. And again, I hope everyone enjoyed the first part in the series. The other parts will probably be a little bit more granular into specific topics, but again, hope everyone enjoyed it. Blaine, great job. We really appreciate you, and the demo was great. I learned some things myself today. So again, appreciate everything, and that's it for now, and we look forward to seeing everyone next Wednesday. Thanks.